Alright, let's talk for a minute. A lot of us have been walking around acting like we're fine. Acting like we've got control. Acting like nothing bothers us. But deep down, we know there are parts of our life that don't match the man we know we could be. And yeah, times are rough. Pressure, money, expectations, setbacks. That's real. But rough times aren't what break us. It's the moment we realize we've been carrying everything alone, believing that's what strength is. We tell ourselves we don't need help. We tell ourselves we'll figure it out. We tell ourselves nobody understands anyway. But when we finally see that isolation hasn't made us stronger, only slower, only heavier, only more tired, that realization hits the ego. And when the ego gets hit, that triggers reality. Reality begins when the illusion breaks. Reality begins when we stop pretending we're fine with outcomes we're not fine with. Reality begins when we admit, not with shame, but with clarity, that if we want a better life, we have to become stronger together, not alone. If you're still here, subscribe now, because we're building something for men who are ready to live differently, not just think differently. And share this with a brother who needs it, because none of us were meant to figure this out alone. The short said something simple, but it carries weight if we really let it sink in. As young men move deeper into understanding, we begin to appreciate the stories quietly etched into our lives by the choices we make. Not the loud choices. The quiet ones. The ones nobody celebrates. The ones nobody even notices. Because life isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in thousands of small moments stacked on top of each other. The realization dawns that the most profound impacts often occur in moments that seem trivial. And this is where reality starts to trigger us. Because we realize it wasn't the big mistakes that shaped most of our life. It was the repeated small ones. The times we delayed action. The times we avoided discomfort. The times we chose distraction over discipline. The times we said later instead of now. And suddenly years passed. Not because we weren't capable. Because we were comfortable. Comfort doesn't destroy us immediately. It softens us slowly. And softness feels harmless in the moment. But softness compounds. Softness becomes hesitation. Hesitation becomes missed opportunities. Missed opportunities become regret. And regret is one of the most painful triggers of reality a man can experience. If you've ever felt that, comment awake. Not for anyone else. For yourself. Because awareness is where rebuilding begins. The short mentioned 3 things that seem small but change everything. An encouraging word to a friend. The willingness to listen without judgment. The courage to stand up for what is right. These are not emotional gestures. They are structural ones. They build the foundation of who we become. Every one of us remembers a time we were close to breaking. Maybe nobody knew. Maybe we hid it well. But inside, we were exhausted. Confused. Lost. And one sentence from the right person could have made the difference. Not a lecture. Not advice. Just acknowledgement. That moment shows us something important. We are not machines. We are men. We need brotherhood. And when we realize that isolation was never strength, only protection, that realization triggers reality. It forces us to evolve beyond ego into discipline. Because discipline is not loud. Discipline is quiet consistency. And consistency builds everything we want. Money follows consistency. Confidence follows consistency. Respect follows consistency. Relationships follow consistency. Nothing stable is built randomly. If this message is resonating, share it now. Because men rarely hear truth spoken directly like this. Listening without judgment is another trigger point. Because most of us weren't taught to listen. We were taught to suppress. To endure. To absorb pressure without response. But carrying everything alone eventually fractures us internally. When we realize we were never meant to carry everything alone, that realization triggers reality. It humbles us. And humility is where growth begins. Not weakness. Growth. Because humility allows correction. Correction allows improvement. Improvement allows transformation. Standing up for what is right is the final piece. Every man has moments where he knows what must be done. And he also knows what would be easier. The easier option protects comfort. The harder option builds identity. Identity is not built through intention. Identity is built through action. And when we look back and see moments where we abandoned our standards, that memory triggers reality. It doesn't destroy us. It refines us. Because now we see clearly. Now we can act differently. Now we can rebuild intentionally. And let's be clear about something. It is going to be okay. Not because life suddenly becomes easier. Because we become stronger. Strength is not something we're born with. It's something we build through repeated decisions. So here are the first practical steps we take. We start with one promise per day. 1. Not 10. One promise we keep no matter what. Waking up on time. Working out. Learning a skill. Tracking money. Improving discipline. Each kept promise strengthens internal trust. Internal trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes action. Action becomes results. Results change our life. We also begin developing valuable skills. Not fantasy shortcuts. Real skills. Communication. Sales. Technical abilities. Trades. Creative production. Problem solving. Money flows toward value. So we become valuable. We don't chase money. We attract it by becoming useful. And yes, we'll break down specific ways to build income step by step in future videos. But first, we eliminate the softness that blocks execution. Because execution is everything. Relationships improve the same way. We don't chase validation. We build stability. We build direction. We build emotional control. And quality women respond to stability, not noise. Not promises. Stability. Everything we want begins internally. And this is the part most men never hear. We are not as far away from the life we want as we think. We are usually 1 year of focused discipline away from a completely different reality. 1 year. Not 10. 1. But that year begins with one decision. Today. Right now. This moment. Because the trivial moments are not trivial. They are the building blocks. Every decision casts a vote for the man we are becoming. And when we realize that our future is shaped by these small moments, that realization triggers reality. It wakes us up. Not with fear. With clarity. So tonight, we take one step. One promise. One action. And we keep it. Because life's deepest lessons hurt first. But that pain is not punishment. It's instruction. It's direction. It's the moment reality finally stops being something we avoid, and becomes something we build. Project title: Life's Deepest Lessons Hurt First. Triggered reality. You're not as weak as your worst moments made you believe. You've just been lied to by your own pain. There were nights you questioned yourself. Nights you wondered if you missed your chance. Nights you felt like life was moving forward without you. And nobody came to pull you out of it. Nobody showed up to save you. You had to sit in it. You had to feel it. You had to face it. And that's exactly where triggered reality begins. Because triggered reality is not comfortable. It's not motivational nonsense designed to make you feel temporarily better. It's the moment you realize the pain wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to wake you up. If you're ready to wake up fully, subscribe now. Because most men never do. Most men stay asleep inside their own lives. They exist. They survive. But they never actually see themselves clearly. But you're here. And that means something. As young men move through life, something begins to change inside them. At first, they don't notice it. They think they're just living. Just reacting. Just trying to get through each day without falling behind. But something deeper is happening beneath the surface. They begin to realize their life is not shaped by the obvious moments. It's shaped by the invisible ones. As they journey deeper into this understanding, they begin to appreciate the stories quietly etched into their lives by the choices they make. Not the big choices. The small ones. The ones that seemed meaningless at the time. The realization begins to settle in. And this is where triggered reality hits hardest. Because triggered reality is the moment you understand that nothing was random. Every moment you stayed silent when you should have spoken. Every moment you walked away when you should have stood firm. Every moment you tolerated something that violated your own standards. Those moments didn't disappear. They became part of you. And that realization is uncomfortable. Because it forces you to confront the truth. You are not powerless. You are afraid. And fear is subtle. Fear doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait. It tells you it's not the right time. It tells you it's safer to do nothing. But triggered reality exposes fear for what it is. A decision. If that truth hits you right now, comment awake. Not for anyone else. For yourself. Because acknowledgement is the first step toward control. The most profound impacts often occur in moments that seem trivial at the time. An encouraging word to a friend. You don't realize how powerful it is until years later when he tells you that moment saved him. Or the opposite. The moment you said nothing. The moment you chose distance. The moment you chose yourself over someone who needed you. You remember those moments. Not because the world reminded you. Because you reminded yourself. Triggered reality is realizing that your memory keeps receipts even when the world forgets. And memory doesn't lie. It shows you exactly who you were. Not who you claimed to be. Not who you wanted others to believe you were. But who you actually were when it mattered. The willingness to listen without judgment. That moment where someone trusted you enough to show weakness. And you had a choice. To listen. Or to dismiss. To respect it. Or to minimize it. These moments define more than relationships. They define your character. And character is not built when things are easy. It's built when things cost you something. Triggered reality is understanding that every moment of discomfort was an opportunity to become stronger, and every moment you avoided discomfort was an opportunity you abandoned. Most men spend years running from discomfort. Avoiding difficult conversations. Avoiding difficult decisions. Avoiding difficult truths. But discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. If this message is hitting harder than you expected, share this video. Because there's another man out there who needs to hear what nobody told him. The courage to stand up for what is right. Not when it benefits you. But when it costs you something. That's where identity is forged. Not in comfort. In conflict. Not in safety. In risk. Triggered reality is realizing that every time you chose comfort over courage, you weakened your trust in yourself. And every time you chose courage over comfort, you strengthened it. Because the person you see in the mirror is not built from your intentions. He is built from your actions. Your future self is watching you right now. Watching how you respond. Watching whether you continue the same patterns. Watching whether you finally decide to change. Most men wait too long. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for motivation. They wait for certainty. But triggered reality is understanding that certainty never comes first. Action does. And action creates certainty. Subscribe now if you refuse to waste another year repeating the same internal cycles. Because the difference between the man you are and the man you could become is built through decisions made in moments exactly like this. Life's deepest lessons hurt first. Because they expose the illusion. They expose the illusion that you had unlimited time. They expose the illusion that your choices didn't matter. They expose the illusion that you could delay your growth without consequences. But pain removes illusions. Pain forces clarity. Pain forces awareness. Pain forces evolution. Triggered reality is not the pain itself. Triggered reality is the awakening that follows it. The moment you stop blaming. The moment you stop waiting. The moment you stop pretending you don't know what needs to change. Because you do know. You've always known. You just needed to see it clearly. And now you do. Comment triggered if you've reached that point. Because the moment you acknowledge the truth is the moment you begin to reclaim control. Your life is not decided in one dramatic moment. It's decided in thousands of small ones. The way you speak. The way you act. The way you respond when no one is watching. And those moments are happening right now. This is not the beginning of your story. This is the moment you finally become aware of it. This is triggered reality.